In preparing to compose my opera Hypatia, I sought to design a pitch scheme that would achieve particular goals. The entire opera should be based on a single unifying pitch structure without succumbing to rigidity. The pitch structure should be flexible enough to reflect wide-ranging mood swings and emotions: rage, passion, love, humor, fear, tenderness, etc. Harmonic and melodic materials should derive from the characters' emotions and psychologies, and from the unfolding of the drama, and not be perceived to be an arbitrary or artificial imposition. The pitch material should, in some way, reference the story's setting, Alexandria, Egypt, in the early 5th century CE.
Can you take that tone with me? You forget it was I who taught you.
This was a turning point in the history of Western civilization. Alexandria was one of the last outposts of the fading Roman Empire. The city's population consisted of an unstable mix of clashing ethnicities, cultures, and religions: Egyptians, sub-Saharan Africans, Jews, Romans, Christians, and Greeks. The names of the principal characters, Hypatia, Cyril, Theon, and Orestes, indicate that they were ethnically and/or culturally Greek. The name Peter derives from the Greek word Petros, for rock, and also suggests a biblical connection with the Hebrew name Shimon, or Simon. Hezekias is a Greek version of the Hebrew name Hezekiel, or Ezekiel. In composing the church scenes, I resisted the temptation to use authentic Latin and Greek plain chant for several reasons. First of all, the familiar versions of these tunes originated far away in Europe and several centuries after Hypatia's death. Secondly, although I used some of the traditional Latin texts, I composed original melodies for them, out of respect for the sacred nature of the chanted prayers, as they are known by the faithful. I wanted to decouple Cyril's murderous duplicity from anything that could be considered holy. Our knowledge of what ancient Greek music actually sounded like is rather sketchy, based on contemporaneous written descriptions and reconstructions of antique instruments. From my research, I concluded that any attempt at authenticity would be both dubious and compositionally stifling. Therefore, I decided to create my own synthetic ancient Greek style modes based on generalized descriptions. It is believed that the archaic tunes tended to be limited in range, with some flexibility as to which tones might be sounded within the range of a perfect fourth or fifth. I began with a set of 4 pitches. To this, I added a second set consisting of the same intervals transposed a perfect fifth higher. This yielded a 7-step scale or mode, transposable to all 12 different keys or pitch levels. This mode features many harmonic possibilities, including major, minor, augmented, and diminished chords, as well as chromatically dissonant clusters. Still, this would not have been sufficient harmonically to serve as the sole pitch source for an entire opera. I then identified the 5 pitches excluded from the original mode. This set is more highly colored and chromatically intense than the relatively cooler original mode and provides notable harmonic contrast. Especially when the pitches are reordered, the new set suggests a Middle Eastern quality. Secondary set. Combined, the 7-pitch primary set and the 5-pitch secondary set cover the entire chromatic octave. But for even more harmonic possibilities, I added the inversions of both the primary and secondary. Taken together, the primary and secondary sets, their inversions, and all transpositions allow for 12-tone or dodecaphonic composition. Secondary set inversion. Primary inversion. Primary mode. Primary mode inversion. Primary mode. Secondary set. Primary mode inversion. Secondary set inversion. Hypatia's theme is based on the primary mode, as is most of the music sung by Hypatia, Theon, and their students, including Hesychius. Primary 4-pitch set. Primary set, perfect fifth higher. In addition to yielding a somewhat cool, cerebral, and classically modal quality, as befitting the Grecian scholars of the Great Library, the primary mode also is used for the exuberant chorus of students and even for Hypatia's yearning lament. By contrast, the primary mode inversion, the source for most of the music for Cyril, Peter, the monks, the Christian women, and sometimes Orestes, can have an unstable quality that is difficult to categorize. It's used for both the menacing liturgical chants and for Cyril's dissembling machinations. The secondary set is used for moments of passion and high intensity, such as in Hypatia and Orestes' love scene. At the moment of Hypatia's death in Act 4, the harmonic texture becomes 12-tone. Even though the various modes and pitch sets now are combined and ordered systematically, the change is perceived more subliminally than overtly. I wanted to convey, however subtly, the sense that with her death, a light had gone out and the world had changed.
Peter, what have you done? Only God will, Father, still thy will. The holy altar profaned in blood. I'd afraid he might be converted, or maybe exiled. But murder, so we are damned.
By this late stage of the opera, the sundry motives have become familiar enough so that iterations as subsets of the tone rows help the audience and the singers maintain equilibrium even in phrases that are quite atonal. In this excerpt, all action freezes as in a tableau, except for Peter and Cyril, who alone are illuminated by a pale light. Their recitation is mechanical, soulless, and sung in parallel major seconds.
Let no memory of her remain, of her writings, her instruments, her philosophy behind the dawn.
In this final excerpt, we hear Cyril and the Christians singing an ecstatic Lux Aeterna, based on the secondary set or passion motive, while Orestes, Theon, and the students, fearing the worst, demand to know what has become of Hypatia, singing on an entirely different set of chromatic pitches as determined by permutations of the row.